Faith, you are just so on point. Keep it up.
Oh, check it.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Welcome back again for another celebrity astro chart or astrology chart reading. So this has been requested. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Immediately when I saw this picture, I almost broke for the hills. I ain't gonna lie. This is not a good picture. You see that the eyes of a lichen. If you've ever seen Underworld, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, you know the eyes, Kate Beckinsale eyes right there. But of course, we know those are contacts. It's just creepy. But anyway, so here we are. We are back again, like I said, for another chart reading. Not going to get super in depth when it pertains to Ellen DeGeneres. Of course, I already showed you guys her picture. She had, the talk show, which she no longer has because of, I believe something came out about workplace tactics or workplace something. There's a lot of drama surrounding that. And she decided to resign because at that point, I don't know how you could possibly recover from that. I think they may even possibly have accused her of discrimination or racism or something of that nature, or her just being really rude. But, So anyway, so we're going to go ahead and get right into it. So we will start with her birthday. Now, as you can see, I did not know that she is from Metairie, Louisiana. Okay, I did not know that. That is interesting fact. But anyway, so she is born on the 26th of January. Now, that would make her an Aquarius sun, as you can see. But you guys know I don't want to focus a lot on her zodiac sign. Okay, you can focus on that if you choose to, but we want to go ahead and get right into the meat of the situation. Now, with her being born on the 26th, we want to break that number down to a single digit so that we can know which direction we need to go into. The 26 breaks down to the number 8. Now, 8 is tied to Saturn, right? We also know that 8 is tied to, my numerology guide is tied to Leo. Now, the good things when it pertains to the number 8 is, karma, if you work it right, power, passion, charming, strength, organization. So, as we can see, she created her own organization just based off of us breaking down her day that she was born. Since we broke it down to number 8, 8 is tied to organization and organization. Okay. Now, the downside of this number 8 energy is we can have someone that can abuse their power in all the wrong ways. They can be a bully. They can be very vain in the manner of don't look at me, don't touch me, don't shake my hand. Even if you happen to be possibly like the CEO of their organization, they still may come across in that type of way. Now, it could be on purpose or it could not be on purpose. Who knows? But so already we may have an energy of someone where if you give them too much power, it makes their head become larger than what it already is. Okay. Now, with again, that number 8 being tied to Saturn, we need to look at her Saturn placement so we can get an idea of energetically how she is. Now, we already kind of had like a little bit of a breakdown because we talked about how, her number 8 is tied to the element of karma and it's tied to the element of power, tied to the element of strength. So she could have strength or she has strength in Sagittarius subjects. And Sagittarius subjects could be law, teaching, okay, traveling, education, charity. She has strength in those particular industries or sections, okay? But also she can create organizations tied to Sagittarius type of energy, okay? Now, Sagittarius, I think Mercury may be more of the publisher than Sagittarius. I'm trying to go to my cheat sheet right now just to verify that, but it is possible. So let's see what's falling under Sagittarius. Oh, publishing. Okay. So publishing does fall under Sagittarius, the guru, foreign relations. Duh. I should know that by now. So again, having strength in those particular type of subjects. And she has her Saturn in the 10th house, in the same house that I talked about, JFK having his Saturn in as well. He had power. He decided to become, I think he was forced upon him, but either way, he became the president, but also his Saturn was fixed on a degree tied to politics. So, but we also know that Saturn can signify the end of one's life. Sometimes it may be a joyous end. Sometimes it may be a disastrous one based off of, again, house placement, degree, as well as aspects that are being made to your Saturn. Okay. Now her Saturn is exact conjunct her Mars. Now, yesterday I actually was reading something about Saturn and Mars. They can be assholes. Okay. Assholes to the point where we know Saturn Mars has that strength, because I see this in charts of boxers or sports people. If you go back through some of the sports icons, especially in basketball during like the 90s, the Barkleys, the Ewings, okay. I think Michael Jordan is more so Sun Mars. But the Dr. J's, the Elijah ones, if you go back through those particular type of charts, we probably could, the Spud Webbs, we probably could definitely find Mars, Saturn in quite a few of those charts. Okay. But let's be curious. I mean, you kind of do have to have a little bit of asshole in you to reach that level of greatness. I'm not condoning that, okay, when it pertains to, how she is. But back to my original point, they can be assholes, especially in the workplace, because we know the 10th house is the workplace because it's your professional life. Okay. And it's kind of odd that maybe for her, and honestly, maybe it's one of those things where this possibly, or those allegations maybe should have came out a lot sooner than what they did. So I really don't know how they managed, or how she managed to keep that under wraps for so long. It could be a very strict NDA that she may have had them sign, or it could be, if you're about to say something against her, she may pull one on you and be like, oh, I have a contact at NBC or ABC. Would you like to intern there? So there's that abuse of power in a way, like, you can't tell on me because I'm about to help you out. Okay. But her Mars, like I said, and Saturn are so close. Again, in the 10th house, and in some type of way, she may definitely be very flighty. I'm kind of getting this energy from her. We're blanking out. So, you know how they have like the teleprompter so you don't lose your place? Imagine if the teleprompter went down. It's almost like her mind just draws a blank in some sort of a way. Okay. I don't know if she went to higher education. I'm not sure. We would see higher education by the 9th house. Her 9th house lord is in Sagittarius, which is, it's like a pretend journalist, if I'm just going to be honest. Okay. So not formally trained in that way. So on the other side of the spectrum, it could be that she stepped away from this business at the right time, before she got a chance, or before there was a chance to expose her possibly for being a fake journalist, or however you want to say it. Mars can sometimes be a little bit unserious, honestly. Okay. Maybe that's why Aries make good comedians, maybe because they can just be so unserious, because we know Mars is tied to Aries. So it really just may be one of those. And also, I'm getting like a lot of gotcha jokes from her, but it doesn't come across very, how you can play like a gotcha moment, but it is very lighthearted. Hers, it kind of gives me mean girl type of energy, like, gotcha, but I've been wanting to do this to you because I heard about something that you said about me. So we may have somebody that will literally embarrass you for you doing something to her, and you may not even really realize what you did, because she's not going to tell you. She may hint at it in the press, but it's not like you're going to have a face-to-face conversation with her and she's going to tell you like, hey, I really didn't appreciate what you said about me around 5 months ago, that really bothered me. No, she's going to pull you in. She's going to gotcha. She wants to publicly embarrass you because, again, she has that Mars and Saturn in the 10th house of public. And I'm not saying this is going to be the case for everybody. I'm talking specifically about Ellen. Now, let's take a look at the degree that her Sagittarius is on. Okay. And then we'll get into her name situation. Oh, I just learned the other day that Mars is tied to your passions. So it's not that she doesn't have the vibrato, or it's not like she doesn't have it in her to be a good journalist. It's just she's restricted, or she simply just restricts herself. Okay. Publicly speaking, I think as public, people take her as a joke because her Saturn, I'm going to check and see, but it kind of looks like her Saturn is sitting smack dab on her midhaven, which can be kind of difficult to get the public behind you. Now she does have Moon making an aspect to her Sagittarius midhaven, so that kind of does help it a bit, because remember I talked about Moon midhaven, Moon Jupiter aspects can be good, okay? But either way, also, we're going to get to that in a second, but there may definitely be some strong differences when it pertains to her mother. I'm not sure who her mother is, but maybe her mother, maybe could be father, whomever, could be very religious for some reason. I'm not saying this is a fact, but I'm getting kind of cult vibes. So I'm not sure if, honestly, I heard the Grand Wizard, which would be the KKK. So I'm not sure if her family or her mom and her dad were involved in some sort of organization, because remember, she is born on that 26, which breaks it down to an 8, and that 8 is tied to organization. And we know the downside of an 8 is bullying, abuse, an organization that may put those two things as part of its like credo, as part of its mantra. Okay. But anyway, it's going back down to what we were talking about. Saturn 22 degrees Sagittarius. So let's take a look at that and see what we have. By the way, guys, the episode may not be out by the time this video is uploaded, but I did do a podcast episode on the Donald Trump indictment. I pulled the event chart, or the horary in this instance, to see how Donald Trump feels about it. So you guys go take a listen to that. Of course, the link is in the description box below, and it'll take you where you need to go, or you can just go to my website and just scroll a little bit down the first page, and the little pop-up should be there for you to listen to it. Back to the task at hand. So Saturn, Sagittarius, 22 degrees. Now, let's see. The 22nd degree of Sagittarius is a feminine energy. Okay. So maybe not necessarily she may not really be a girl's girl, or she may not bat for the home team, but that's okay. I mean, that is okay. That is okay. But on the other end, it could be that women may not really be fond of her. I hate to say it. I just heard, like, I don't know where this came from, but I heard somebody was just like, she stinks, but I don't think it's in that context where you're just like, somebody stinks because of their like behavior. It could be the other one, but neither here nor there. Sagittarius, 22 degrees. It is a degree of, I said it too before I even got a degree of restriction, bitterness, misplaced, heart disease, jealousy. What I say? Remember I said that gotcha moment. It's all bitterness. And maybe that's how she rose to prominence, I guess. Or maybe that's how she rose up in her talk show career. jealousy, bitterness may have drove her to success. If that's a thing, I guess it is a thing. But we know Saturn rules the end of one's life. I'm going to take a look as well at her. Her last name starts with the D. So Moon, her Saturn and Moon are making an aspect. So jealous, exile. I honestly hear exile, especially with Saturn, even though it's making like this will be a trine to the Moon. I'm still getting an exile type of energy. And it's probably because of where that Saturn is sitting in her chart. Okay. But either way, where's I going? Oh, yes. So with her being born on the 26th, like I said, and energy is a big thing for me. So I'm looking directly at her Saturn because that's related to her 26th day that she was born on. She possibly gives off that energy of somebody who's very bitter, like I said before, jealous, this. I'm definitely getting social climber type of energy from her. But on the other side, she ain't your friend. And for you to think that she is your friend is just not good for you. And I honestly don't really think she has possibly many friends or maybe even fans. Because we see our fans, our fandom from our 11th house. So her 11th house is in Capricorn. We know Capricorn is tied to Sagittarius. So her fans are possibly about as bitter or as jealous as she is. Her fans may have even made suggestions to her about people that they feel jealous of or bitter about. And they're like, yeah, interview them. But they really want to interview them so that you can contribute to their downfall. I would never agree to go on her show. And that's just my opinion because of that energy. And I bet you the people that have been on her show have probably said the same thing when they're in her presence. They could probably feel that bitterness, that restriction. But we also have somebody that doesn't really talk about her personal life. Since the 10th house is very public, since it can also be kind of like your persona and, it's your profession, of course, your profession, like I said before. She wants you to open up, but God forbid you want her to do the same thing, especially possibly when it pertains to her past. Probably doesn't want to talk about her mother, possibly. We can see that her moon, even though her moon and Pluto, which I can see, if those make like contact with one another, you could have somebody who has some issues with their mom. Not all people, okay? But I don't know if I don't know if her mom was like an alcoholic or maybe she kind of struggles with that in some sort of manner. But this gives me somebody that suppresses stuff by maybe indulging. Okay. But health, you kind of see how this kind of wants to make a trine. This kind of wants to make a little bit of a triangle here from Saturn to Moon to Pluto, but it just doesn't finish. So, maybe on the health side of things, she may have diagnoses or she may go to the doctor and they like, look, you need to take your prescription. She doesn't finish it. Okay. She may even be somebody who could be a little bit oblivious when it pertains to health problems, like serious health problems. It kind of gives me, well, I'll just pray it away. It's like, girl, get to the doctor. You need help. Okay. But anyway, so, oh yeah. So let's take a look at names, shall we? Because like I've said in previous videos, this is just my theory. I take a look at the first initial of the person's name and I try to gauge in a way of what they're going to do in their life, because the number 1 is also tied to Capricorn. We know Capricorn is tied to Saturn. We know, like I said, Saturn is tied to destiny, but we also, destiny. And that's pretty much why I came to this conclusion about using the first letter of the name. That's me. Okay. So the letter E is tied to the sun. Okay. So she has her sun, looks like going into the 12th house, but let's just clarify to make sure that that is correct. 12th house. Did I say 12th house? Yes. So yes, the sun is in the 12th house along with her Venus as well as her Chiron. So it's kind of interesting how she decided to go for a talk show, because with her wounded healer, this is, your wounded healer is literally what you need. Literally is what it says. It's what you need to heal. in this lifetime. So it's interesting that she decided to do a talk show which focuses heavily on Aquarius energy because of microphones, studio equipment, technology. Okay. So the point of her doing her talk show should have been to possibly heal that bitterness, because it actually looks like her Chiron is making an aspect to her Saturn in the 10th house. That is the purpose of it. But you completely dismantled that. Instead of using it to heal that bitterness, heal that rejection, heal feeling restricted, because it's possible that she felt that way maybe in childhood or specifically from her mother. For some reason, I keep getting all these pictures in my mind when it pertains to Ellen. Like I said, cult vibes. I picked up the Grand Wizard, which would be the KKK, but I've also kind of get her in like a nun type of outfit. She's smaller, definitely smaller, but I see the bangs and everything. It is giving the nun from Sister Act with Whoopi Goldberg. I forgot her name, the youngest one. Kind of looks like that, but she doesn't have the red hair. She has blonde hair. But anyway, so with her son going into the 12th house of the undoing, okay, she is her own problem. Even though she may try to make it about everybody else, she is her own problem. And remember how I talked about me reading in my astrology book that the sun, even though it's great in all its glory, because of that ego at times, it can be where we are limited or where we limit ourselves, where we get in our own way. You know what I'm saying? Because it's things that we need to heal. So with her being in Aquarius, we have, the inventor. We have the, I don't want to say activist, but it's probably fake activism if we're going to be honest here. But also we know the 12th house outside the Aquarius thing is bed pleasures as well. 8th house, 12th house, that's that deep rooted in your subconscious type sex. 5th house is smash and pass, if we're going to be honest. Okay. But that 8 and that 12, okay, very deep. But anyway, so, secret bed pleasures, maybe that may be what blinds her. Okay. We also know Aquarius is, I would probably put Aquarius social media too. The internet, computers, the engineer, the author. She ain't going to be a musician, but you get the point. Okay. And we know the 12th house is tied to charity. Remember I said a fake activist, maybe social work, hospitals, prisons, travel, foreign lands. Does she own a prison? I mean, I'm not really shocked by anything that people do at these particular points in my life. Okay. But let's take a look at the degree of her sun. Her sun is on the 6th degree of Aquarius. The 6th degree is actually tied to Virgo. I'm getting there may be some maybe strong mental health issues here. Maybe even somebody who loses their mind. Maybe even somebody where they wake up and you're just like, how did I get here? It's like, what do you mean how did you get here? You drove here last night and you got your ass in the bed and you fell asleep. So what are you talking about? It may be like that. Sometimes it may be kind of scary. Like cognition, losing it in some sort of manner. Remember I talked about the teleprompter, how I said, that goes down. We got to sit and duck. She can't wing it. She can't do it. Even if she tries to wing it, she may be like me, but I have a good excuse because my brain's just processing too much information. I don't know about her. Okay. But yeah, let's look and see at the 6th degree of Aquarius. First, let's see, is it masculine or is it feminine? The 6th degree of Aquarius is a feminine energy. So Aquarius 6 degrees. Look at that. Bad for eyesight, sharp observer, danger from impulsiveness, vulnerability. We know the sun is also tied to leadership, government, politics, CEO, boss, a bad boss. I mean, it's right there on the degree. Danger from impulsiveness, even though they're sharp. And she may be actually very OCD. So we may even have a boss where she may send out a laundry list of demands to get her ready for the next day. My room needs to be at 72 degrees. My coffee needs to be like the right temperature, like put a thermometer in that joker and make sure it is the right temperature. My sheets need to be correctly a psychopath. I mean, I'm not saying she's a psychopath, but it's kind of giving. It's giving that type of energy in a way. But to go back, to what I was talking about the career. So with her son, her first initial of her name, okay, being tied to the energy of the sun in Aquarius, she ended up where she was at. However, she did not complete the mission that she was supposed to complete. You're supposed to heal. You're not supposed to be a bad boss. You're not supposed to be dangerous. You're not supposed to create enemies. She also has Venus in the 12th. I just realized that as well, which it probably is very likely conjunct the sun. It is, and is retrograde. The sun and the Venus too close together can definitely create a very selfish, self-centered type of person. It doesn't always have to be bad, okay? But when you're likely in her presence, all she wants to do is talk about her. Even if she gives you a chance to talk about you, she's going to find a way to flip it to make the conversation be about her. But these are things that she's supposed to work on. At this point, she may come back for another reincarnation because she ain't did it right. Okay. And we'll do, wow, she has North Node, Jupiter, and Neptune in the 8th house. Jupiter, Pluto, okay, she has kind of like that millionaire aspect, I would say, in a way. This Neptune in North Node, though, is very interesting because, one time, guys, I was just tweeting my little fingers off. Maybe I'll be able to find the tweet, but I think I tweeted about Michael Jackson as well as Whitney Houston having their Neptunes in Scorpio, by the way, in the 8th house. And I said something about it possibly being tied to black magic or something like that. And I'm assuming somebody who possibly used to work with him or something like that. I think he's a comedian. He liked the tweet. I'm like, okay, that was weird. Because I just thought I was talking to myself. So it's probably unliked at this particular point because you know how they be. They don't want anybody to see what they've liked. But I think I may have actually read that somewhere as well with Neptune being in the 8th house, that it may not necessarily be the best placement. But while we're on that, yeah, there we go. So Neptune in the 8th house can sometimes be called the psychic detective because they are somebody who they want to dedicate their life to finding the truth, and they're never afraid to ask the big questions. Which means if we having someone that has no fear, so they could step that toe possibly into the underworld and be like, bring it on. Maybe even not really be fearful whenever it pertains to God or religion. It's like, bring it on. I don't know if she's an atheist. I'm not saying that she actually is, but, because with Neptune being in a water sign house, because, technically Scorpio is the 8th house, with Neptune being in that joker, probably very, very intuitive. Okay. And we know Scorpio likes to go deep. Scorpio can be dark as well sometimes, not all the time, but they can be. And another thing, just based off of this little snippet that I looked up, it says abusive relationships can be a frequent issue here with Neptune in the 8th house because they tend to find themselves in relationships that hurt them. Remember I talked about that bitterness, that jealousy. So we may even have someone where I don't know if she's into BDSM because we know Scorpio rules over sex. Okay. And remember I talked about that 8th house and that 12th house. It gets deep subconsciously when it pertains to, your sexual appetite. So, it may even be someone where they may want to harm people in a sexual way. Maybe they're pushing out their frustration on them because of possible abuse they may have endured in their past, maybe from their father. I'm kind of starting to get the picture why she is the way she is now. It starts at home, you know. But it's still no excuse because everybody is in charge of their own healing, you know. But also another thing as well, with Neptune being in the eighth, especially if we're just talking about, because togetherness, I guess, when it pertains to partners, they may not really see their partner clearly. They don't notice warning signs. Even if the person is not necessarily suitable for you, or they may have bad intentions, you kind of gloss over it because we know Neptune can kind of be like that. It can be that elusive energy. Like, it's like, oh, I don't see it. I don't see it, but it's staring you right in front of your face, but you don't necessarily really want to, avoid that for some reason. It's like you want to torture yourself. Why? It's got to be a very sad life to live. Okay. But with also another thing as well, because she has Jupiter North Node and, of course, Neptune in the house of the eighth, talk about traumatized. And I get that, like, that's what I said before. I can possibly see why she is the way that she is. I don't condone it. But, we may have a woman who has been through a string of traumatizing events, people that have betrayed her. But instead of healing that, now in a way you may betray others, which is, not good. Okay. She doesn't trust anybody. Circle's very tight, which is why I said before, she may not be, one for hanging around a lot of women. Honestly, she may be somebody where it may just be, okay, me and my partner and we're good. Like, you shut yourself off from the world. Is giving very reclusive, honestly. Okay. And maybe in this instance, she may be somebody where she could be afraid for people to leave her. So then now she's just throwing stuff at you because she doesn't want you to leave her, because a martyr, maybe in some sort of way, could be seen from, that place, the place that we were talking about when it comes to Neptune in the eighth house, and maybe she felt like that at a younger age, having to maybe save her father. But you see how her Neptune is making an aspect to her Venus, which is the planet of love. In this instance, we could say her wife. So it's like, don't leave me. I'll give you whatever you want. I'll give you whatever that you ask for. What if her wife in real life is a literal depiction of the character that she played in Scandal? Because, Ellen DeGeneres' wife played Elizabeth North in Scandal. If you haven't seen Scandal and you don't know about Elizabeth North, then you may have to wait until like season 4. Okay. But what if her wife is like that? So what if they kind of both are like what I'm talking about? So I guess they're made for each other. But anyway, so we're kind of off of this when it pertains to Ellen. I just want to give you guys a little bit of a snippet in terms of her chart, because it's what you guys requested. Keep bringing the request in. I haven't forgot about the ones that you guys have texted me or talked about before. We will get to them at some point. But also, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, nice things, okay? Because we're all nice over here. And I'll see you guys later.